So I started YouTube 4 months ago, and today I want to talk about the highs and lows of the first 4 months and share the 8 lessons that I've learned. The first thing to mention is that it actually took me a long time to get going. I planned and talked about creating content on YouTube for about 2 years before I actually started. I even made a few videos last year and I just didn't ever even post them. Getting going was a big hurdle for me. The fear and the high bar I set for myself and the constant reasons for delay meant that I kept kicking the can down the road. Then, in September last year, I became a father and was suddenly up to my very tired eyes in nappies, milk and all sorts of firsts that were all scary. What I remembered through that process was that lots of things are scary until you get started and then you work it out as you go. So, in January, I got started on YouTube. Here are my 8 lessons so far. 1. Have a schedule and try to get ahead. Making these videos takes a lot of time, thinking of an idea, writing a script, coming up with what you think is a compelling title and thumbnail, recording, editing, keywords, descriptions, A/B testing on thumbnails. It all adds up to a bucket load of time, and then you get 12 views. More on that later. My plan had been to post 2 videos per week, and so far I've been able to stick to that. Some weeks it's much harder than others. I run multiple companies outside of this YouTube stuff, so time management is tricky. It seems to work best when I get ahead of the game. At one point, I had a bank of half a dozen videos that were all ready to go, but life gets in the way and before long, that buffer disappears and you're back to square one, needing to pull an all-nighter to get back on top of things. Then there's the thumbnail and hook issue. Best practice seems to say that you should start with thumbnail and title before you do anything else, but when I do this, I find it sometimes difficult because you pick a title and you choose a thumbnail up front or you design a thumbnail up front, and then when you get into the script and the creating process, you end up with something that's quite different from how you envisaged it. For example, I made this video about OKRs and the original thumbnail and title just didn't make sense with the final product, so it needed to be redesigned anyway. Systems for keeping track of everything is a little easier. I'm using Trello to collate my ideas, notes, and plan out all the steps in the process. And I suppose the lesson I've learned is that if you schedule a process that works for you, come up with a process that works for you, and then constantly try to improve it. If you've got any tips on this and how to organize your time really well, please leave a comment below. Second, tech pains. I started with just my phone. It was the fastest way to begin, but I had a sound issue, so I got a clip-in mic that connected to the phone. The problem was that it was unreliable, and so several times I finished the recording only to discover that the sound was corrupt and I needed to film all over again. This was extremely frustrating and depressing, and I'll admit that that microphone in question ended up traveling very quickly out of my hand and across the room at one point. I got a new mic and a new camera, but that had its own issues. The camera turned off when it overheated, and I had to film all over again. And then I recently moved into a new office with quite high ceilings, so it's quite echoey, and I had another issue to solve with sound, and I'm still kind of trying to work out all of these things. In short, working out the right tech is quite tricky, and it seems to be a constantly moving target. As you fix one thing, another thing comes up. You have to make choices, and I've tried to make choices for suitable products, suitable prices and functionality for my small channel, but it's quite hit and miss. More on that as we go. 3. Wasted time syndrome. One of the hardest things I have is what I call wasted time syndrome, which is when you spend a load of time on a video and it gets 10 views and you know that at least 3 of those views are sympathy views from people that you know or your mum or whatever. I think it's perhaps the hardest part of the early days of this game is just managing myself. It's a fine line between what's a good investment of time for a longer term view and what's just a complete waste of time. And you can't help but doubt that what you're saying no one really cares about and that your content isn't that valuable. I think it's just a natural thing to do. And I don't really have a lesson here yet. I think all I'm trying to do is remember why I started in the first place and then carry on regardless. If I work this out in time, then I'll let you know. 4. Corner cutting mistakes. So I made one video that was a bit rushed. It was about 4-day working and I made a mistake. You see, most of my videos up until that point have got no real traction, so I rushed the research and I missed a couple of important parts. Then, don't get me wrong, nothing particularly bad was said, nothing really bad blew up or anything like that, but a couple of people pointed out that it was far from an excellent bit of work, and I must say, I agree with them. I could have done a much better job and made it a more valuable piece of content. The lesson I learned here was you never know when a video is going to go well, so try and make all of your content as good as you can if you want it to be a success. 5, packaging and A/B testing. So anyone who has done any of this will know that packaging is a nightmare. Packaging is the term for the thumbnail and title of a video, and it's one of the most confusing, frustrating, and head-scratching things that I've ever tried to solve. And it's very, very, very hard to design something when you cannot really trust your own thinking. I've looked at some of the thumbnails that we've designed and felt confident that it was good and that we were going to get a good click-through rate, but it turned out to be really poor. And then I've looked at others, I've kind of thought that they were bad and they wouldn't do very well, and they turn out to perform quite well. At this point, I can honestly tell you that I have basically no idea what good packaging is. What I am doing is running A/B tests. So every video I put out has an A/B test on it that I'm running via TubeBuddy to try and help me gain an understanding of what works and what doesn't work. Every post, every video is an opportunity to learn. So my hope is that it will lead to a set of rules, and as I implement those rules, it will walk up my click-through rate via scientific testing rather than just dumb guessing. It's frustrating, but that's what I'm doing. 6, the checking stats roller coaster. Another emotional roller coaster is housed in the YouTube Studio app on my phone. Every morning I load up and it's like a spinning wheel of fortune. Will it be good? Will it be bad? It's a bit of a lottery. I did this video recently about LVMH, the world's richest man, which I thought would be a winner based on my previous successful videos, but it wasn't. So cue a 6 a.m. YouTube Studio app check disappointment. Again, I try to remember that this is just part of the game. The YouTube video algorithm gods are kind to us some days and turn away from us on others. If I can keep making good content with value, then in the long run, I think it will come together. 7, getting better quickly. Like everything new, you have to understand that you're bad at the start, but the idea is to quickly get better. I've spent time trying to understand how to keep people engaged, especially in that initial 30 seconds. I've been playing about with different editing styles, hooks, openings, graphics, trying to work out what works. I've completed a course by Ali Abdal to see what I could learn from him, and I've studied other YouTubers. I've spoken to people and friends who are further along on the YouTube video than myself. I've just started playing about really with shorts and other formats to see what impact they can have. And I'm understanding that when you start something, when you're new, you have to test lots of different things and try and rapidly understand what's going to work and what's going to get you growth. And final, tip number 8 or story number 8 is managing emotions. Time is precious. I have several businesses. I have a young baby, family, friends, and all of the sort of stuff that we all have. And working out the best use of time is hard. Feeling like you're making the right decisions on things is hard. I'm still very unsure of what the right path is here. It's great when you make content that people enjoy and you get some nice comments and some likes and a few views, and that's what you're trying to deliver on an ongoing basis. But it's a roller coaster, it's ups and downs. You doubt yourself, you have imposter syndrome, you are trying to work out if you have a message that's valuable enough to share. Do you have stuff that people really want to hear? It's a tricky thing. It's a difficult journey, and I think when you put together all of these different elements, the time, the technical challenges, the kind of creative side of it, the emotional roller coaster of getting views versus not getting views, trying to kind of crack this nut, I think that the most difficult thing is managing yourself and managing how you feel about the whole thing. In many ways, I think that YouTube has been around for a long time now, but I think content and crafting a message and trying to talk about something, my thing here, by the way, if you haven't seen anything else that I've done, is I'm trying to talk about startup businesses and careers and motivations and how companies can build great companies and how people can have great careers and great lives. And I feel passionate about those topics, and in particular business. So my hope is that as I do more of this, my message will kind of be honed into a more concise set of messages, and I'll get better at actually making these videos, these films. I'll solve the technical challenges, and hopefully what I say and how I say it is compelling enough that some people want to come along for the ride. And I think if you're new to YouTube like I am, then you're probably struggling with a lot of these same things and battling with these same issues. So if that is you, then I hope there was something in this that was useful. I would like to say to you that you're not alone, and there are other people who are dealing with this as well. Leave a comment below if you found this useful, and it'd be good to connect and to share some of the pain. But in the meantime, thank you very much for watching. Subscribe if you'd like to see more from me, and I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye.